And in this respect, of course, we acknowledge that is being undertaken to look into violations perpetrated by police against protesters. We look forward to receive your state report and in this context the collaboration that you have had in the preparation of this report, the technical support you received. We very much commend that, and other states do the same. Thank you again, Eswatini. We now move to the next item, and this would be the item on the cooperation of the Commission with national human rights institutions and with non-governmental organizations. In this respect, Commissioner Maria Teresa Manuela will present the state of things with respect to the cooperation of the Commission with national human rights institutions. Commissioner Manuela, you have the floor.
Muito obrigada, Sr. Presidente. Bom dia aos caros participantes. Vamos então fazer o ponto da situação sobre a relação e cooperação entre a Comissão Africana dos Direitos Humanos e dos Povos e as instituições nacionais dos direitos humanos e instituições especializadas em direitos humanos em África. O artigo 26 da Carta Africana dos Direitos Humanos e dos Povos exorta os Estados-partes a permitir o estabelecimento e a melhoria das instituições nacionais adequadas, encarregadas da promoção e proteção dos direitos humanos e liberdades garantidos pela presente Carta. A relação e cooperação entre a Comissão Africana e as instituições nacionais de direitos humanos e instituições especializadas em direitos humanos em África estipula o seguinte: as instituições nacionais em direitos humanos terão as seguintes responsabilidades. Devem prestar assistência à Comissão na promoção e proteção dos direitos humanos a nível nacional e devem apresentar os seus relatórios de atividades à Comissão todos os 2 anos. Até a 64ª sessão ordinária, a Comissão concedeu o estatuto de afiliado a 29 instituições nacionais. Durante o período entre sessões anterior a esta sessão, a 65ª, que estamos a realizar de 21 de outubro de 2019 a 10 de novembro, a Comissão não recebeu quaisquer relatórios de atividades das instituições nacionais de direitos humanos. Gostaria então de encorajar as instituições nacionais com o estatuto de afiliadas e com relatórios de atividades em atraso a apresentá-las à Comissão em conformidade com a sua obrigação estipulada na Resolução número 370, número 5 de 2017. As informações seguintes indicam a situação de apresentação de relatórios de atividade pelas INDH. Na 64ª sessão ordinária, não havia relatórios devidos pelas seguintes instituições: para os Direitos Humanos, Conselho Nacional dos Direitos Humanos da Argélia, Comissão Nacional dos Direitos Humanos da República Democrática do Congo. Concedeu-se o estatuto de afiliado durante a 63ª sessão ordinária em novembro de 2018, com o primeiro relatório a ser apresentado em novembro de 2020 à Comissão dos Direitos Humanos do Sudão do Sul. Concedeu-se o estatuto de afiliada durante a 62ª sessão ordinária em maio de 2018, com o primeiro relatório a ser apresentado em maio de 2020 à Comissão para a Igualdade de Gênero da República da África do Sul. Instituições nacionais de defesa dos direitos humanos que devem apresentar um ou mais relatórios são as que seguem: Comissão Nacional dos Direitos Humanos do Ruanda, da Côte d'Ivoire, da Nigéria, do Quênia, do Mali, do Níger, Comissão Sul-Africana dos Direitos Humanos, Comissão Nacional dos Direitos Humanos do Malawi, Comissão de Direitos Humanos do Uganda, Comissão dos Direitos Humanos e da Justiça Administrativa do Ghana, Comissão Nacional da Democracia e dos Direitos Humanos da Serra Leoa, Comissão dos Direitos Humanos e da Boa Governação da Tanzânia, Comissão Nacional dos Direitos Humanos do Togo, do Tchad, Comissão dos Direitos Humanos da Etiópia, Comissão Nacional dos Direitos Humanos do Burkina Faso, Comitê Senegalês dos Direitos Humanos, Comissão Nacional dos Direitos Humanos e das Liberdades dos Camarões, Comissão Nacional dos Direitos Humanos da Mauritânia, Comissão de Direitos Humanos da Zâmbia, Comissão Nacional dos Direitos Humanos das Maurícias, Comissão Nacional dos Direitos Humanos do Sudão, Comissão Nacional Independente dos Direitos Humanos do Burundi e Comissão Nacional dos Direitos Humanos do Zimbábue. A Comissão convida e incentiva todas as NDH acima citadas a cumprir as suas obrigações conforme a previsão do número 5 dos critérios de concessão do Estatuto e constante da Resolução número 370 de 2017, como acima referimos. Também apela aos países que tenham instituições nacionais de direitos humanos que as afiliem à Comissão dos Direitos Humanos e dos Povos de África. Muito obrigada.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Manuela, for that statement of update on the relationship between the Commission and national human rights institutions. I join Commissioner Manuela in urging national human rights institutions to submit their report to the Commission as per the regulations of the relationship between the two. We don't have any request for application for affiliate status during this session. So we now proceed to the presentation on the state of relationship between the Commission and non-governmental organizations. For this, I invite Commissioner King. You have the floor, Commissioner King.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, everyone. This is a report on the relationship and cooperation between the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and NGOs. Non-governmental organizations play a prominent role in the activities of the Commission. Primarily, they draw the attention of the Commission to violations of the Charter. They bring communication on behalf of the individuals. They monitor state compliance with the Charter and help to increase awareness about the Commission's activities by organizing conferences and other activities. Chapter 2 on the relations between the Commission and observers in the resolution on the criteria for granting and maintaining observer status to non-governmental organizations working on human and people's rights in Africa provides that 1. Observers shall undertake to establish close relations of cooperation with the Commission and to engage in regular consultations with it on matters of common interest. And 2. Observers shall present their activity reports to the Commission every 2 years. As at the 64th Ordinary Session, 519 NGOs have been granted observer status with the Commission. During the intercession period prior to commencement of the 65th Ordinary Session, that is this session on 21st October 2019, the following 3 NGOs submitted their activity reports to the Secretariat of the Commission. And the first NGO is Global Forum for the Defense of Human Rights Association, number 481, East and Horn of Africa Human Rights Defenders Project, number 359, and Human Rights Watch, number 17. The Commission would like to thank these NGOs for fulfilling the requirements of submitting activity reports in accordance with the provisions of the aforementioned resolution and the Commission's rules of procedure. To date, among the 519 NGOs with observer status, 344 have submitted one or more reports on their activities. The Commission therefore calls on all NGOs with observer status to submit activity reports to the Commission every 2 years in line with the requirements stipulated in the African Commission's Resolution 361. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Commissioner King, for that update. We welcome the submission of reports by those NGOs who have done so in the course of this reporting period. And I join Commissioner King in calling those who didn't submit their reports to do. Now we have a request for receiving observer status by the Commission by 4 organizations. The first one is Steward Women. This is going to be presented by Commissioner Muthe. Commissioner Muthe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, distinguished delegates. I wish to present the request for observer status by Steward Women. Steward Women is a national women's organization founded in 2009 by a group of lawyers to address the problems of sexual and gender-based violence, harmful cultural practices, insecurity, child labor, illiteracy, and to promote the participation of women in decision-making in South Sudan. The organization advocates for the rights of women and girls in South Sudan, recently obtaining the first landmark ruling annulling child marriage. Now, the mission of this organization is to develop, shape, and empower South Sudanese women to advocate for policies that foster equal economic opportunity and secure human rights for women and children. Its vision is a South Sudanese society free from the violations of the human rights of women and children. Chair, I have looked at the list of documents which were furnished to us, and these include a letter of application, a list of Steward Women Board of Directors, the signed and authenticated Constitution of Steward Women, certificate of registration, sources of funding, independent audited financial statement, Steward Women Annual Activity Report for 2018, and Strategic Plan 2018-2020. Now, this application is from an organization whose objectives and activities are in consonance with the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. The application contains all the relevant documents as required under the Commission's resolution on the criteria and enjoying observer status to NGOs working rights. So, Chair, in view of the above, I am quite happy to agree with the recommendation that the Commission should grant observer status to Steward Women. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Muthe. In the light of the recommendation of the Secretariat, as well as the confirmation by Commissioner Muthe that the application is in line with the resolution of the Commission on the observer status of non-governmental organizations, the Commission hereby decides to grant the observer status to steward women. Thank you. The next one is Trial International. Is there any member of the Commission that would like to make an observation? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Hattem, you have the floor.
Thank you. So I think I have to present trial now. The first one is... okay. Je vous remercie. Le secrétariat a reçu une demande donc, relative à l'obtention du statut d'observateur auprès de la Commission de la part de l'ONG Trial. Trial International est une organisation non gouvernementale qui est enregistrée en Suisse. Donc, sa demande a été reçue par notre commission le 17 mai 2019. L'objet de l'activité principale de l'ONG est la lutte contre l'impunité des crimes internationaux. Elle soutient les victimes dans leur quête de justice et elle met le droit au service des victimes des crimes les plus graves et lutte contre l'impunité des responsables de ces crimes. Concernant notre continent, Trial International est présente dans plusieurs pays, notamment au Burundi, en Ouganda, en RDC, République du Congo démocratique, en Algérie, au Maroc, en Tunisie, en Libye et en Somalie. Brièvement, les attributions de l'organisation sont de lutter contre l'impunité des responsables et des complices ou des instigateurs des génocides, des crimes de guerre, de crimes contre l'humanité, de torture ou de disparition forcée, défendre les intérêts des victimes de tels actes devant toutes les instances ou juridictions nationales ou internationales, développer et renforcer en Suisse et au niveau international des mécanismes et des structures permettant de poursuivre ou de juger des responsables, les complices ou les incitateurs de génocide, de crimes de guerre, de crimes contre l'humanité, et faire prendre conscience au public, et notamment du monde juridique, de la nécessité de promouvoir la justice internationale en luttant contre l'impunité. Alors, conformément à la résolution pertinente en ce domaine, l'ONG a présenté des documents que nous avons là dans le dossier, une lettre de demande du statut d'observateur, ainsi qu'une liste de ses membres, la preuve de son existence juridique, les statuts et les règlements intérieurs, les sources de financement, le dernier rapport d'activité, le dernier état financier audité, ainsi que son plan d'action. Alors, en plus de tous ces documents-là que nous avons étudiés, nous avons fait des petites recherches concernant cette observation, cette organisation. Nous n'avons pas trouvé d'observation qui pourrait mettre un frein à l'attribution du statut. Donc, Trial a fait sa demande auprès de la Commission le 17 mai, comme je l'ai dit. Le dossier contient toutes les informations et les pièces que je viens de citer. Et au vu de cela, nous recommandons l'accord du statut d'observateur à Trial International. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Commissioner Hattem. May I request if the members of the Commission would like to make an observation or to move a motion for the granting of observer status?
Should be granted.
Thank you. So the request by Trial International to receive observer status before the African Commission has been granted. Thank you very much. I see the flag of Algeria. Is it in relation to this matter? In our normal proceedings, we don't have a process for that kind of intervention. As far as applications are concerned, it is within the purview of the Commission to decide on this. Okay,
Thank you.
we can hear you.
Thank you. شكرا للسيد الرئيس. أنا أعرف الإجراءات المعمول بها تحت هذا البند لأن ما عندناش حق نتدخل في هذا الموضوع، لكن هو مجرد سؤال فقط. في التقرير الذي عرض مؤخرا يقول أن هذه المنظمة موجودة بالجزائر. شكرا السيد الرئيس. أنا على علم بالإجراءات المعمول بها في اللجنة فيما يخص هذا البند، ولكن فقط أريد أن أطرح سؤال لأنه ورد في التقرير أن هذه المنظمة موجودة في الجزائر، فلو يتفضل السيد المحافظ أن يعطينا مزيد من المعلومات لأنني ليس لي علم أن لها موجودة بالجزائر. شكرا.
Okay, I think what we will do is we take note of your observations and then we will have the necessary follow-up. Commissioner Hatem perhaps will also do the necessary follow-up as well. Commissioner Hatem.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Les pays que j'ai cités sont des pays où Trial a eu une activité. Ça ne veut pas dire qu'elle est présente physiquement, ça ne veut pas dire qu'elle a une antenne. C'est-à-dire qu'elle a pu, à travers un de ses membres ou un de ses avocats, traiter d'une affaire en Algérie. Mais elle n'a pas, comme on dit en français, pignon sur rue. Donc, si Monsieur l'honorable délégué de l'Algérie, je vais reprendre, il a utilisé en arabe كان لها حضور. أنا لا أتكلم على حضور مادي. هذه المنظمة ليس لها وجود دائم في الجزائر الشقيقة، بل قد كانت لها بعض المساهمات أو كان أحد أعضائها موجودا في الجزائر حتى عبر يعني مراسلات قانونية أو استشارات فقط. وشكرا.
Thank you for that clarification, Commissioner Hatem. I hope that helps. Okay, so we now move to the next application, and the next application is by Paralegal Advisory Services Institute, PASI. This would be presented by Commissioner Aswagbo, who is the country rapporteur for Malawi. Commissioner Aswagbo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning all. Paralegal Advisory Institute, PASI, did apply for observer status before this commission sometime in July 2018, which is within the time limit provided by our rules of procedure. Paralegal is a non-governmental organization established by Trustees Incorporation Act of 1965 in August 2007 with the main objective of promoting access to justice by all people in Malawi through provision of village mediation and paralegal service. It is also registered with Malawi NGO Board and the Council for Non-Governmental Organizations. The objectives have been clearly spelled out, and these include providing legal aid at all stages of justice process, as well as ensuring a comprehensive national paralegal aid delivery service mechanism which offers appropriate basic legal assistance and advice to people in conflict with the law, conducting trainings for paralegals, promoting legal literacy in places of detention and communities, encouraging policy and legal reform which promote adherence to constitutional guarantees and international human rights standards, especially as concerns people in conflict with the criminal law and those in places of detention. Engaging in action-oriented research into the areas of human rights with the principal aim of informing and influencing policy change, raising and acquiring funds from any legitimate source and disbursing the same in furtherance of their objectives, and lastly, carrying out such other activities as are ancillary and incidental to any or all of the above activities. In support of the application, Paralegal has attached the following documents: the source of funding, proof of the source of funding, an independent auditor's report, certificate of registration, the status of the organization, and also the strategic plan for 2017 to 2021, and annual reports for the years 2018, and a list of board members. Chairperson, this application responds to the criteria which have been set by the Commission for the grant of observers status to NGOs. I would therefore conclude by requesting that the application be granted. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Swagbo. If there is any observation from members of the Commission, and if the members may wish to move to grant observer status, please. Okay, thank you very much. Observer status has hereby been granted to Paralegal Advisory Service Institute of Malawi. Thank you very much again. The next one is Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association. Commissioner King, the country rapporteur, will present the request for application and the decision of the Commission. Thank you very much, Commissioner King.
Thank you, Chair. This is an application for observer status by Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association. This is an association registered in Zimbabwe, and the date of registration is 30th November 2001, and its application for observer status is dated 21st August 2018. Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association, ZILA, is a public interest environmental and human rights association operating in Zimbabwe and Southern Africa. The objectives of ZILA are to contribute to the fight against poverty through a human rights-based approach, to promote good governance, democracy, transparency, and accountability in the natural resources sector, and service delivery, to promote the enforcement and implementation of environmental, economic, social, and cultural rights, and to secure institutional growth and capacity to tackle new and emerging challenges and issues. Its mission is to promote equitable, just, and sustainable environmental and natural resources management and the protection of marginalized communities and citizens in Southern Africa. Its vision is to be a leading internationally recognized research-intensive advocacy organization on natural resources, governance, and environmental law. ZILA has provided the Commission with the following documents in support of its application: a list of the board members of ZILA, the signed and authenticated statutes, its registered deed of trust, certificate of registration, sources of funding, its independent audited financial statement, its annual report of 2017, and its strategic plan 2015 to 2019. This application is from an organization whose main objectives and activities are in consonance with the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. And the application contains all the relevant documents as required under the Commission's resolution on the criteria for granting and enjoying observer status to NGOs working in the field of human and people's rights. In view of the above, it is recommended that the Commission grants observer status to Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner King. Can I have an indication if the members of the Commission would like to move the motion for granting observer status? Thank you, Commissioner Mutek, and thank you, Commissioner Swagbo. We hereby grant Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association observer status. Thank you very much. I see Kenya. I think it must be a right of reply. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and distinguished delegates. Chair, it is not a point of reply. I just wanted to make an observation, but perhaps I would wait if you are still having more applications for observer status being considered until we finish, then I'll make my observation after that. But in the event you are finished with observer status applications, then I can proceed. I stand guided by you, Chair.
We have concluded our agenda on granting of observer status.
Okay, Chair, then may I make the observation? Chairperson, I'm aware that perhaps member states might not be able to object to anything. But one, I want to appreciate the applications for those for NGOs who had applied for observer status. I think we have listened to the NGO from Zimbabwe, from Malawi, South Sudan. The observation is directed to Trial International, which we have been told that it is registered in Switzerland. And I think and raised a pertinent question, because now there is nowhere where we are told that this trial is registered in Africa. We have only been told that it conducted some activities. We did not also hear that there are because these are issues which sometimes when you come before the VRC or the assembly, they raise the questions. I don't know in your rules whether it's just a question of any organization coming regardless of where it is registered. These are some of the fundamental issues which you might, as a commission, need to look at to avoid those views. There might be more details required or information required on this Trial International. There is nowhere where it has a footprint of registration in Africa, apart from the activities. When you compare with these others, which we have been told they are registered within Africa, the activities they are doing, they are in line with us. That is the observation which I wanted to point out. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kenya. Yes, point that have been raised by Algeria and yourself, we very much understand the point that you have raised. The criteria on the granting of observer status within the framework of the resolution that the Commission has adopted doesn't preclude the granting of observer status to international organizations, international non-governmental organizations, on account simply of their place of registration. What the criteria requires is that they need to be organizations engaged in human rights work, and their human rights work has to also cover Africa. It is on account of that we have been granting observer status. So you might have noticed, for example, in the course of making statements on the state of human rights in Africa, organizations based not only in Africa but also outside of Africa have been making statements exactly on account of the fact that they also have covered through their work human rights issues on the African continent. So if you look at the criteria from the resolution, particularly Article 2B, you can clearly see that all NGOs applying for observer status with the Commission shall first have objectives and activities in consonance with the fundamental principles and objectives enunciated in the African Union Constitutive Act, the preamble to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, on the rights of women in Africa, the Maputo Protocol. And it also says they must also be NGOs working in the field of human rights in Africa as well. So it is on the basis of these considerations that the Commission makes the assessment in granting those observer status. In respect to Trial International, the objectives have been presented by Commissioner Hatem clearly go hand in hand with the objectives of the Constitutive Act of the African Union, which makes direct reference to non-impunity and therefore is in line with the criteria for granting observer status, and it is within the bounds of this standing legal requirement and established practice that we have processed and analyzed the application within the Secretariat and then by a responsible member of the Commission in bringing it to the public for presentation and granting of observer status. So I think the essence of what I am saying is that I fully understand the point that have been raised as the criteria in the resolution of the Commission, as well as the standing practice of the Commission stands. What we have just done in respect to Trial International is fully in compliance with the requirements. Thank you very much. I see Algeria and Eritrea.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. فقط للتوضيح فقط حتى أوضح لكم لما في المداخلة الأخيرة. شكرا سيد الرئيس. حتى أوضح لكم موضوع دقيق أنكم في مداخلتكم الأخيرة هذه قلتم نحن نتفهم ملاحظة الجزائر حول هذه المنظمة وأسردتم لنا كل الإجراءات المعمول بها. أود أن أوضح أننا ليس لنا أي اعتراض شكرا السيد الرئيس. أود أن أوضح أمر مهم، هو أن في مداخلتكم الأخيرة السيد الرئيس قلتم نحن نتفهم ملاحظة الجزائر وأوردتم كل إجراءات المعمول بها لمنح صفة الملاحظة للمنظمات الغير الحكومية. أود أن أقول أن نحن نعرف هذه الإجراءات، وأعرف أنه لا يمكن لنا أن نعترض على منح هذه صفة الملاحظ لأي منظمة، لأنكم أنتم لكم القرار الأخير والسلطة في ذلك. لكن أن ملاحظتي كانت حول مضمون التقرير، ليس حول يقول أن المنظمة موجودة في الجزائر. L'organisation est présente en Algérie, en ceci, etc. etc. هذه هي الملاحظة، لأنني أعرف أنه لا يمكن لنا قواعد المعمول بها في اللجنة، أنه لا يمكن لنا كدول أعضاء أن نعترض أو نتدخل في هذا الأمر. فنحن نحترم القواعد المعمول بها في اللجنة الموقرة، لكن ينبغي فقط تصحيح بعض المعلومات التي ترد في التقارير فقط. هذا هو الموضوع. نحن نتفهم ونحترم كل إجراءات المعمول بها في اللجنة، ونرحب بكل تعاون المجتمع المدني معنا وتعاون المنظمات الغير حكومية في لإطراء أشغال دورتنا. شكرا.
Thank you very much, Algeria. That is really extremely useful and important, that you do recognize the importance of the work of NGOs, and also the fact that the Commission is within its mandate to conduct the process. And I fully also appreciate your suggestion that the Commission needs to verify certain facts when they are stated in applications. Eritrea?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I was not actually intending to intervene, but the discussion brought to mind the long discussion that we had a few years back on the criteria of granting NGO status, and the decision that was adopted by the Assembly for the Commission to revise its criteria. And my recollection serves me right that the criteria was revised, I think 2 years back, 2016 or 2017. And if I'm not mistaken, it clearly shows that the NGO in question has to be African. The previous criteria indicated that it has to be an NGO working in Africa. But the revised protocol, the revised criteria indicates it's African, if I'm not mistaken, but we can look into it and confirm. This is an issue of principle, as indicated by the Assembly in those discussions. This is an African forum where African states, NGOs, rights institutions engage in discussion on issues to do with human rights. Foreign parties can involve during the opening, closing sessions, but we don't understand for them to come and comment on the human rights situation in Africa. No African NGO goes to the European Human Rights Court and engage in that level, and vice versa. So I will confirm once the connection in this hall is not that good, but once we look at it. But we would like the issue to be given serious attention. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Eritrea. Yes, in line with the decision of the 15, the Commission acted on the request for revising its resolution on the granting of observer status, and that resolution, the revision of that resolution was in accordance with the request by the Assembly. That is why you find direct reference, for example, to the preamble of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, and also the two criteria that I read earlier on are from the revised resolution on the granting of observer status. That is where things stand. To my knowledge, I didn't see anything that says that the NGOs that engage in this process should all be African NGOs. It is within that framework that the revision was done, and the process of the granting is also being conducted. Thank you very much once again to Kenya, Algeria, and Eritrea for this very important conversation relating to the participation of civil society organizations in the proceedings of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. I very much appreciate that, really. Next is the agenda on the presentation of the activity reports of the members of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. If Commissioner Hatem is ready to present, you have the floor, Commissioner Hatem.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Donc, nous passons à l'état de la soumission des rapports des États parties. Comme vous le savez, le cadre juridique, il s'agit de l'article 62 de la Charte africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples. Les États membres s'engagent à présenter tous les 2 ans, à compter de la date d'entrée en vigueur de la présente charte, un rapport sur les mesures d'ordre législatif ou autres prises en vue de donner effet aux droits et libertés reconnus ou garantis dans la présente. Yes. Ah. Excuse me, Chair. Should I present my own report or the report on the state reports?
Activity.
That one is later, so it's your activity report.
Ah, it's too much for one guy. Interlude. Présenter mon rapport en application des articles 23 et 72 du règlement intérieur de la Commission africaine. La période d'intercession comprise entre les 64 soit de mai, où nous étions dans la belle ville de Sharm el-Sheikh, dans la République arabe d'Égypte sœur, à octobre 2019, où nous sommes ici, dans cette ville de Banjul. Il fournit aussi un aperçu sur les viols, la guerre et la torture en Afrique. Le rapport comprend une introduction et rend compte de mes activités intercession. Les activités intercession, d'abord en qualité de président du comité de prévention de la torture en Afrique. La journée internationale de soutien aux victimes de la torture, au cours de laquelle j'ai supervisé la publication du communiqué de presse du CPTA commémorant la journée internationale de soutien aux victimes de la torture le 26 juin 2019, communiqué qui a appelé l'attention sur la situation des migrants et réfugiés africains exposés au risque de torture et de traitements cruels, inhumains et dégradants, conformément au thème de l'Union pour l'année 2019, année des réfugiés, rapatriés et personnes déplacées pour des solutions durables au déplacement forcé en Afrique. Ensuite, j'ai présidé une table ronde avec les principales parties prenantes pour la fourniture de réparation aux rapatriés gambiens ayant subi des tortures et autres mouvements de traitement le 15 juillet 2019 à Banjul, à la veille de la session extraordinaire avec les principales parties prenantes sur la fourniture de réparation aux rapatriés gambiens. Cette table ronde a réuni 24 participants, notamment des représentants du gouvernement, de l'OIM et d'institutions nationales et non gouvernementales. Au cours de cette rencontre, l'accent a été mis sur les tendances générales de la migration des ressortissants gambiens, ainsi que sur la torture et les autres mauvais traitements dont sont victimes les migrants gambiens. La table ronde a pris note du cadre législatif, administratif et institutionnel existant en ce qui concerne les réparations en Gambie, identifier les lacunes du cadre, convenu des initiatives à prendre pour combler ces lacunes et identifier les parties prenantes. La table ronde a par ailleurs précisé ce que l'on entend par réparation pour les victimes de la torture et des autres mauvais traitements et insisté sur l'obligation pour l'État de fournir réparation aux victimes. Dans ce cadre de ma présidence du comité pour la torture a été un panel sur la situation relative aux disparitions forcées en Afrique. En effet, le 22 octobre 2019, au début de notre actuelle session, j'ai présidé un panel sur la situation relative aux disparitions forcées en Afrique. Ce panel a été organisé par le CPTA en collaboration avec le groupe de travail sur la peine de mort, les exécutions extrajudiciaires et sommaires ou arbitraires, les disparitions forcées, présidé par la commissaire Sylvie Kaitesi, et nous avons été également aidés et soutenus dans cette activité par Redresse. Les activités en qualité de membre de notre commission. Du 3 au 5 juillet 2019, j'ai participé à l'atelier de renforcement des capacités sur le système africain des droits de l'homme et les techniques de plaidoyer organisé à l'Institut Driss Ben Zikri pour les droits de l'homme à Rabat au Maroc. J'ai été désigné comme personne ressource pour la formation des jeunes Africains participant à l'atelier. Par ailleurs, du 16 au 30 juillet 2019, j'ai participé, à l'instar de tous mes collègues, à la 26e session extraordinaire de la commission réunie à Banjul, en Gambie. En ma qualité de commissaire rapporteur sur la situation des droits de l'homme à Maurice, j'ai effectué du 13 au 17 août 2019 une mission de promotion en République de Maurice en compagnie de la présidente de la commission et du commissaire Rémi Ngoy Lombo. Cette mission a fait l'objet d'un travail de préparation et de coordination avec les autorités de Maurice que nous avons mené depuis l'année 2018. Les 18 et 19 septembre 2019, j'ai participé à une réunion organisée à Tunis par le SAMU social international en partenariat avec l'Office français de l'immigration et de l'intégration autour du thème « Face aux défis de la protection internationale, humanité, dignité, solidarité avec les personnes en situation d'exil ». Du 1er au 4 octobre 2019, j'ai pris part à la mission de promotion de la Commission à Sao Tomé et Principe avec la commissaire Maria Teresa Manuela, commissaire rapporteur pour ce pays. Cette mission a été très importante parce qu'elle est la première que nous rendons dans cet État depuis son adhésion à la Charte. Elle a permis de faire connaître la Charte et la Commission à nos frères de Sao Tomé et de s'informer sur l'état des droits de l'homme sur cette île. Suite à cette mission, d'ailleurs, l'INDH de Sao Tomé a soumis sa demande d'octroi de statut d'observateur auprès de notre commission. Le 18 octobre 2019, j'ai participé à la 8e réunion annuelle entre la Commission et la Cour africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples tenue à Banjul. Le 19 octobre, j'ai participé à au 15e dialogue Union africaine-Union européenne tenu également à Banjul. Je passe maintenant aux lettres d'appel et de remerciement. Le 8 octobre 2019, en ma qualité de président du CPTA, j'ai adressé une lettre de remerciement à son Excellence Muhammadu Buhari, président de la République fédérale du Nigeria, après la remise en liberté de centaines de garçons et de jeunes hommes qui étaient retenus par son pays de la Convention des Nations Unies contre la torture. Alors, je passe à la et qui a une. Ensuite, il précise le cadre juridique de l'interdiction de la torture, ainsi que l'interdiction du viol, le viol comme arme de torture et l'analyse donc de toutes ces manifestations, ainsi que les auteurs des violences sexuelles. Donc je vous renvoie au site de notre commission pour voir de plus près ce rapport que je ne pourrai lire entièrement, donc ça nous prendrait plus de temps avec Monsieur le Président, donc je renvoie au site de notre commission. Je vous remercie, Mesdames et Messieurs.
Thank you, Commissioner Hatem, for the presentation of the activities that you have undertaken between the last ordinary session and this session. As a member of the Commission, as well as chair of the CPTA. Any contribution from members of the Commission on Commissioner Hatem's activity report? Any state party that would like to take the floor? Any national human rights institution that may wish to take the floor? Any civil society organization?
Yes, they're coming. One is coming.
On the activity report of the chairperson of the committee on the prohibition of torture. Please proceed. Please identify yourself and the organization that you belong to, and your observer status number as well.
Thank you. My name is Onyema Flupre. I work with the Center for Reproductive Rights. The center gained observer status in 2006. And I will obtain the observer status number shortly after the speech. The Center welcomes the intercession activity report of the Committee on the Prevention of Torture in Africa and report on rape.
Excuse me, did you mention your registration number?
I don't have it on hand.
You will have an opportunity later on when you have it.
I can get it from my seat, if that's okay. It's right there. Okay.
In the meantime, that is the only
Shall I commence?
Yes, please.
The observer status number is 358.
Can you repeat it?
358.
Thank you. Please
Distinguished,
proceed.
thank you. Distinguished commissioners, in crisis and conflict settings, women and girls are particularly at risk of sexual and gender-based violence, including rape. In Nigeria, for example, systematic sexual violence has been a well-documented feature of Boko Haram's treatment of the women and girls it abducts. In 2018 and 2019, the Center for Reproductive Rights and Legal undertook a fact-finding mission covering internally displaced person camps in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states, and Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, to document the impact rape was the most recorded violence. $20 new cases in BD settlement, bringing to 430 the total first 4 months of 2017 in a single settlement. Congo in 2018, the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo recorded 1,049 cases of conflict-related sexual violence, including rape, against 605 women, 436 girls. As in, not and girls were undertaking tasks that were unavoidable, such as walking to school or collecting firewood or water. In crisis and conflict settings, women and girls are also particularly at risk of sexual exploitation. Camps and their caregivers. Cases of exploitation and sex for food by camp members were explicitly highlighted by rape and sexual violence survivors and by humanitarian and civil society organizations, who also noted that very little has been done to curb its frequent occurrence. Comprehensive data on rape and sexual exploitation that would help in the development of safeguards for women and girls in conflict is necessary, but remains difficult to collect due to stigma and other barriers. The Committee Against Torture and other international treaty monitoring bodies recognize that forcing a woman to carry a pregnancy to term, which is due to rape, is a violation of the right of women and can amount to ill treatment. The committee has stated that for women survivors of sexual violence who are unable to access legal abortion, the situation entails constant exposure to the violation committed against her.
Your time is up.
I'll conclude by urging the Commission to call on governments to set up strong institutional structures to support and protect women and girls, deploy more women to conflict and crisis settings to protect the interests of women and girls, and make available comprehensive reproductive health care facilities in camps and host communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your statement, particularly addressing the part of Commissioner Hatem's report relating to sexual violence, including rape that happens in conflict situations. Thank you once again. We also have received another NGO, MBDHP, with observer status number 12. to make an observation on Commissioner Hatem's report. Thank you. You have the floor.
Ok, merci, Monsieur le Président. Déclaration du mouvement burkinabé des droits de l'homme et des peuples sur la torture à son 5e session. Monsieur le Président, de défense des droits humains a salué cette adoption qui marquait une avancée majeure dans le domaine de la lutte contre la torture dans notre pays. Les pertinentes dispositions de cette loi ont été reprises dans le nouveau code pénal adopté en juin 2018. Conformément au protocole facultatif à la Convention contre la torture et autres peines ou traitements cruels, inhumains ou dégradants, la loi de 2014 prévoit la mise en place d'un observatoire national de prévention de la torture. Malheureusement, 5 ans après son adoption, le Burkina ne dispose toujours pas d'un mécanisme national de prévention de la torture, ce qui empêche l'État burkinabé de mettre en œuvre son obligation de surveiller étroitement et de façon systématique les pratiques en cours en matière d'interrogatoire, notamment pendant les gardes à vue, et de contribuer ainsi à réduire les risques de torture et de mauvais traitements qui sont déjà réels dans les lieux de détention du pays. La mise en place d'un tel mécanisme est d'autant plus urgente que, de façon générale, les conditions de détention au Burkina Faso sont inhumaines, dégradantes et s'apparentent à des actes de torture. Pour cette raison, le MBDHP voudrait saisir l'opportunité de votre auguste assemblée pour interpeller le gouvernement burkinabé sur la nécessité de mettre en place un mécanisme national en vue de prévenir la pratique de la torture, principalement dans les lieux de détention. Mesdames et Messieurs les commissaires, notre mouvement rappelle que la torture est un acte barbare, illégal et lâche qui bafoue la dignité humaine. À maintes reprises et devant cette même tribune, le gouvernement burkinabé a manifesté publiquement son intention de prendre toutes les dispositions utiles pour lutter efficacement contre cette pratique inhumaine. La mise en place d'un mécanisme de prévention sera un pas significatif dans ce sens. C'est pourquoi, pour conclure, le MBDHP appelle la KDHP à suivre et à interpeller le Burkina Faso sur la mise en œuvre effective de ses propres engagements et à envisager une visite du rapporteur spécial sur la torture dans le pays. Appelle les autorités burkinabées à mettre en place de façon diligente un mécanisme national de prévention de la torture et ensuite à garantir de façon efficiente l'indépendance de ce mécanisme et à doter de moyens suffisants pour son fonctionnement. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. Commissioner Hatem, do you wish to respond and conclude? Thank you.
Je vous remercie. Je veux juste remercier les intervenants sur mon rapport et surtout sur les activités du Comité pour la prévention de la torture en Afrique. Et donc, j'invite de nouveau tous ceux qui s'intéressent à ce rapport sur le viol comme arme de guerre et arme de torture, donc à se référer au site de notre commission. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Hatem. We now proceed to receive the report of Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, my report is presented in accordance with Rules 23, 3, and 72 of the Rules of Procedure of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and covers activities undertaken during the intersession period between May and October this year. The report outlines my intersession activities as a member of the Commission and as the chairperson of the Working Group on the Rights of Older Persons and Persons with Disabilities in Africa. The report is structured in two parts. Part 1 covers intersession activities in my capacity as a commissioner and chairperson of the working group. And part 2 includes the general conclusion. Part 1. Activities undertaken as chairperson of the working group on the rights of older persons and persons with disabilities in Africa. A. Ratification seminar on the ratification of the Protocol on the Rights of Older Persons in Africa and the Protocol on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in Africa for the member states of the African Union. From 5th to 6th of July this year, I convened and participated in the Continental Ratification Seminar on the ratification of the Protocol on the Rights of Older Persons in Africa and the Protocol on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in Africa for the member states of the African Union, which was held in Kigali, Rwanda. The purpose of the seminar was to raise awareness on the existence of the two protocols and the urgent need for their entry into force through ratification by a minimum of 15 states parties as required for each. It is worth recalling that the Protocol on the Rights of Older Persons in Africa was adopted by the African Union at the 26th African Union Summit, which was held from 21st to 31st of January 2016 in Addis Ababa. Additionally, the Protocol on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in Africa was adopted by the African Union during the 30th Summit, which was held in Addis Ababa from 22nd to 29th of January 2018. The consultation targeted the states parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, with the eventual participation of the following 32 states, namely Algeria, Benin, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Chad, Djibouti, Egypt, Equatorial Guinea, Eswatini, Gabon, the Gambia, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Kenya, Lesotho, Liberia, Madagascar, Malawi, Mali, Mauritania, Mauritius, Namibia, Niger, Nigeria, Rwanda, Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, Senegal, South Africa, Togo, Tunisia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. So I think the sheer number shows that it was extremely well attended. I extend my sincere gratitude to the state parties for their constructive and informative participation in the regional consultation. In addition to my participation, Honorable Commissioner Zainabo Sylvie Kaitesi was in attendance, in addition to other experts of the working group or parties or partners of the Commission. The following recommendations, which can be accessed on the Commissioner's website, were adopted at the regional consultation. Recommendations 1. State parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the signature and ratification of the Protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the rights of older persons in Africa, and the Protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights relating to the rights of persons with disabilities in Africa. 2. National human rights institutions to encourage their states to become parties to both protocols. And 3. Civil society organizations and other actors to continue and strengthen the advocacy efforts aimed at the ratification of the two protocols by all states. I wish to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the government of the Republic of Rwanda for agreeing to host this important meeting and for all the facilities and resources made available to the Commission and the participants for the effective and smooth conduct of the meeting. Now, activities undertaken as a member of the Commission. From the 16th to the 30th of July this year, I participated in the Commission's 26th extraordinary session, which was held in Banjul, the Gambia. The session was convened to deal with communications and other urgent and outstanding matters from previous sessions. During that extraordinary session, the Commission considered 20 communications, considered and took decisions on a number of relevant documents as well. Furthermore, I took the opportunity to brief the Commission on the outcome of the consultation and ratification of the two protocols. Part 2, conclusion. Mr. Chairman, colleagues, distinguished members of this August Assembly, it has been an immense honor and privilege for me to serve as a member of the Commission and as a chairperson of the Working Group on the Rights of Older Persons and Persons with Disabilities in Africa. I wish to thank the commissioners, states parties, national human rights institutions, civil society organizations, and all the partners who supported my mandate. I also wish to thank the members of Secretariat for the assistance which was provided to the mandate. I realize it's now time to say goodbye, and I wish to thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Yoon. We, members of the Commission and the entire members of this proceeding, would also to express our gratitude for a distinguished service that you have provided for this Commission, but also for Africa. We very much thank you, Commissioner Yoon, for your great work. And also for the activities that you have undertaken during this intersession period and the progress that the activities that you have undertaken achieved in terms of the ratification process of the two important protocols on the rights of older persons and persons with disabilities. Thank you very much for that as well. Members of the Commission, if you have any observation that you would like to make on Commissioner Yoon's activity report. States parties to the African Commissioner Hatem, please.
Je n'ai pas de remarques particulières à faire, mais les derniers mots du président Yoon, je les regrette, parce que sa présence au sein de notre commission était très importante. Son expérience juridique, son expérience humaine nous ont beaucoup aidés, aussi bien pour les rapports de fond que pour l'étude des communications. Donc, en mon nom personnel, je veux lui adresser tout mon respect, mon dévouement, et je lui souhaite beaucoup de bonnes choses dans sa vie future. Merci.
Thank you, Commissioner Hatem. Okay. Egypt. You have the floor.
Thank you, sir, and would like to thank the Commissioner for the presentation he made, and would like also to reiterate that Egypt is very much committed to the cause of persons with disabilities, and of course older persons. We followed with great interest the efforts and the activities that he championed to give focus to the protocols regarding these two issues. We are in the process of actually considering ratification of them. However, there is one element that when we were studying the texts, we discovered that there are inaccuracies or disparities between the English and Arabic versions of the protocols. Things that could actually mean different things in Arabic than they are intended in the English or the French versions. So we are wondering if there is still room to correct that, to make them in line with the English and French versions. The reason I'm bringing this up is that according to our own constitution and regulations, any treaty that goes to the parliament needs to be in Arabic. So, because it's the official language of the country, they will not ever ratify a treaty in a different language. So unless the language and the text is accurate to the translation, or accurate and same as the English and French versions, we will not be able to ratify it as it is. So this is why I'm bringing this up, and I think this might very well be the case with many North African countries. So I think it is something that is worth considering by the Commission and, of course, the African Union. Thank you.
Thank you, Egypt. Also, we welcome that Egypt is in the process of considering the ratification process for these instruments and the points that you have raised. Any other state party? Uganda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Let me join my colleagues to thank Commissioner Hugh for his tremendous contribution to the jurisprudence in Africa, but also for the particular protocols on older persons and persons with disabilities. Just to bring him comfort, I would like to also say that Uganda is in the process of finalizing the required procedures for the ratification of the two protocols, and we're hoping that before the end of this year, perhaps, or early next year, we'll be able to deposit our instruments of ratification. And just basically say thank you very much for all you have done, and we look forward to continuing working with you in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Uganda, for also informing Commissioner Yoon and ourselves that you are in the process of ratifying these two important human rights instruments. I don't see any other. Okay, Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for this opportunity. And first, let me start by appreciating the report, the presentation which has been done by Commissioner Yoon, and also take this opportunity to appreciate and commend him for the contribution which he has done during his tenure at the Commission. He has done a lot of contribution which is going to be remembered by the Commission and also generations of human rights lovers within the continent for many years to come. With regard to those two protocols, I must admit that I'm aware about them. I contributed a lot, especially when they came before the floor of the Assembly, right from the PRC in Addis Ababa. and I supported them strongly. And what I can confirm is that although we have not formally ratified them in Kenya, we are implementing a lot of provisions which are contained there, applying to the older people, the people with disability. But we are looking forward to ratifying them so that we can consolidate the gains which we have already started implementing a long time. We have our internal laws which are addressing those issues, but we'll proceed to do the formal ratification. So those few words, once again, I take the opportunity to wish our outgoing commissioners best of life as he undertakes new endeavors in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenya. Much appreciated. Any other state party? Okay. National human rights institutions? I didn't receive any registration from civil society organizations as well, so Commissioner Yoon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm very thankful for your kind words and those of colleagues and the speakers. Well, I'm reconforted by the stand which has been imparted to us by Egypt, Uganda, and Kenya. With regard to the statement of the distinguished representative from Egypt, of course we have the official languages of the African Union, but the working language of the protocol was English, of the two protocols. The working language was in English. So that I personally wouldn't know whether it's going to cause problem if there is some difficulty in the Arabic version, but all the processes were done at the level of the working group in English. And if there's some problem, perhaps this needs to be sorted out so that we can get the maximum support possible from all quarters. Again, thank you very much for your kind words and your sign of appreciation. On my part, I shall keep on looking forward at at all the good things which is going to be done by this commission, and I'll be following with avid eyes on the progress of the two protocols with particular attention. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
I recognize Commissioner Muti.
Chair, apologies for taking the floor after Commissioner Young has spoken. Chair, I just wish to say that perhaps in respect of the specific concern which has been raised by Egypt, as Commissioner Young has said, the working group prepared the text in English, and then the text was eventually adopted by the African Union following a process, an internal process which was undertaken by the African Union Commission. Chair, my proposal would be that the right office to deal with the issue at this moment would be the legal counsel of the African Union Commission, because they are the ones who finalize, they are the ones who cause a translation, because I do agree that all the texts in the official languages of the AU should be fair. They should, there should not be differences or substantive differences in terms of meaning. So my proposal would be that perhaps Egypt should consider making specific representations to the legal council, and I am sure that if there is anything at a technical level which the commission or the working group could do to assist this, I'm sure we'd be happy to do that too. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Mute, for that point. I would also, like to join Commissioner Mute in saying that if we also receive the specific areas of the translation issues on our part, we can also draw the attention of the relevant departments of the African Union to do the necessary follow-up as well. Egypt, you'd like to come back?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I was basically going to say the same thing along the same lines that you just mentioned. We would, of course, be raising the issue with the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa, but at the same time, we think it's given the fact that this is these documents were the products of this commission, that the commission also shows interest in making the language identical in all texts of EU languages, and that you raise, the commission raises the same issue with AUC. So we will, once we go back to Cairo, we will raise the issue with the relevant authorities, and we will send you, of course it will be difficult to give you the exact words in English and in Arabic, but we just highlight that this paragraph is incorrect, or this word is has different meaning, and so on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That would really be appreciated. We will do the follow-up on that basis. So I would once again thank Commissioner Yoon for the presentation of his activities, and also express my best wishes for him for his next areas of engagement. And indeed, we will continue to have him as a very good friend of the Commission, and to engage him in our various activities as well. And we'll keep him informed on the progress relating to these two protocols. Thank you very much again, Commissioner Yoon. Now, I would like to give the floor to Egypt, the distinguished representative of Egypt. If you are ready to present your statement, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would like at the outset to express appreciation to the Gambia and its people for their warm welcome and generous hospitality. I also salute the outgoing members of the Bureau of the Commission for their valuable efforts and contributions during their term of service, and wish the new Bureau success in carrying out their duties. Member states of the African Union have bestowed upon this Commission a great responsibility to advance the human rights situation in Africa, a responsibility that requires a great deal of diligence, objectivity, and faithfulness to the commitment to the solemn declaration made by members when assuming office. I would also like to remind that member states had made it a point by selecting women to make up 2/3 of the membership of this Commission. However, we regret that ACHPR did not show a similar commitment to gender equality and the empowerment of women when selecting its new Bureau, as it did in recent years. Accordingly, we urge the Commission to revise its methods of work or adopt customary rules so as to ensure the appointment of women commissioners to the Bureau and to pay due attention to geographical rotation, hence acknowledging that in our diversity lies our strength. Mr. Chairperson, 6 months ago, Egypt was honored to host the 64th ordinary session of ACHPR and open its arms to representatives of member states, NHRIs, and civil society organizations. Despite dishonest calls by some NGOs to discourage civil society representatives from attending under the claim that they would be subjected to harassment and reprisal, 185 civil society representatives participated in the session, along with 26 NHRIs and 38 member states, constituting perhaps the largest ever turnout in any ACHPR session throughout its history. Although Egypt's diplomatic missions across the world were turned into poll stations to allow Egyptians abroad to cast their votes in the referendum on the constitutional amendments days before the 64th session, these missions spared no effort to facilitate the issuance of entry visas to all participants whose details were relayed in advance to the Egyptian authorities by ACHPR Secretariat. Major airlines were even officially requested to allow passengers without prior visas to board if they held valid invitations from the Secretariat, and instructions were issued to the Immigration Authority to grant visas upon arrival. It is thus regrettable that notwithstanding all of these measures and efforts, a few could not attend. Egypt's periodic report was extensively discussed by the Commission last May. I will therefore attempt here to focus on the major developments in areas related to human rights since then, among which two are of prominent significance. The first is the issuance of the new NGOs law in August. After a series of consultations with civil society, the new law allows for the establishment of NGOs by notifications only and removes all liberty deprivation penalties, in addition to entitling NGOs to receive funds and tax exemptions. The government has also proposed to the Parliament an amendment to the law on municipal administration that would allow NGOs representatives to sit on the executive councils of all governorates. Currently, there are over 57,000 registered NGOs in Egypt, a matter that attests to the fact that there exists a favorable environment for the free operation of civil society and reflects the government's determination to encourage the creation of a vibrant civil society which is necessary in a democratic society. The second major development is the adoption in July of amendments to the labor unions law by the Parliament. The new law fully takes on board all the recommendations by the International Labour Organization and grants independence to labor syndicates in administering their own affairs, including the freedom to declare strikes. Mr. Chairperson, the distributed text will include further details, but for the sake I will focus on a number of things. The constitutional amendments adopted in a public referendum in April 2019, among other things, allocate 25% of parliamentary seats to women, in addition to an equal percentage in municipalities. In total, there are 22 articles in the Constitution that underscore the equal rights, opportunities, and responsibilities of women and men, and lay the foundations for women's participation in public life and empowerment in all areas. Strenuous efforts are underway to implement the 2030 National Strategy for the Empowerment of Women. Eliminating violence against women, including sexual harassment and FGM, is an irreversible policy path. Like elsewhere, the human rights of women in Egypt are still largely impaired by various negative social norms and stereotypes. The government is conscious that changing misconceptions and attitudes is a long and arduous process, but its pledge to stay course is unbending. Mr. Chairperson, In Egypt's capacity as the current chair of the African Union, I would like to stress the need for ACHPR to formulate a realistic vision for its future work, in full consultation with member states and in partnership with civil society. Studying the various proposals made by different delegations is key for the improvement of the Commission's work. Particular attention should be made in this regard to the following. 1. It is of paramount necessity to synchronize ACHPR efforts with the priorities set out by the AU policy organs, in tandem with enhancing coordination with member states, including by seeking their views when drafting general comments, launching studies, or drawing up policy guidelines. It is only through concerted efforts that we will be able to promote and protect human rights. 2. While promoting civil and political rights is essential for the realization of equality and non-discrimination, ACHPR should pay similar attention to economic, social, and cultural rights, including the right to development. There should be more focus on addressing the harmful practices and disparities that lead to social unrest and conflict, hence working towards overcoming the obstacles to the realization of freedom from fear, hunger, and want, and towards silencing the guns. Let us not forget that all human rights are interdependent, interrelated, and mutually reinforcing. 3. Reinforcing the rule of law is a litmus test for ACHPR. No one should be above the law, be human rights offenders or defenders. Allegations of human rights violations before the Commission should be examined with careful scrutiny, taking into account all considerations, including the validity of information provided, the authenticity of its sources, and the circumstances surrounding each incident, so that ACHPR remains a venue to achieve justice, not to turn into a tool for settling scores. This has to be done in full respect of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and the rules of procedure of the Commission, bearing in mind that it is the duty of the state not only to protect the rights of its citizens, but also to protect public order, safety, health, and morals, and to safeguard the rights and freedoms of others. In conclusion, ACHPR has evolved throughout the years as a locomotive for advancing human rights in Africa. However, there's still plenty of room for improvement, and a lot is yet to be done to realize human dignity. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Egypt. We appreciate the fact that Egypt hosted us during the 64th ordinary session of the Commission, and we very much we recognize with appreciation the hospitality that was accorded to us, and also the two areas that we have highlighted in terms of latest developments relating to the operation of civil society organizations through the new NGO law, as well as the labor unions law, which provides for and reinforces the workers within the framework of the Charter. And also the improvement in the representation of women in Parliament, as well as in local council, and also the council that you have provided with respect to areas for improvement by the African Commission. Thank you very much for that, Egypt. We are now 3 minutes after 11. I think it is high time for us to take the health break. Past 11. Thank you very much.